Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for all the love and support so far. Today we've got an exciting video. I've asked all my athletes, so those are the individuals that I'm coaching in weightlifting, to send me several questions that they want me to answer, and I'm going to be answering them on camera today with you all. So yeah, it's going to be fun and exciting. We've got some weightlifting questions and we've got some really personal, not really personal, but some personal questions as well. So stay tuned as we go through those questions. And whilst you're here, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and then tell your other friend to tell their friends as well. So let's just share the love with everyone. So got the questions here on my phone. The first one is, what are your favorite and least favorite things about coaching? My favorite thing about coaching is the impact. So being able to be part of someone's journey and being trusted by them. I think for me, I just get really happy and excited when I'm able to share the knowledge that I've amassed with my athletes as they embark on their journey. Some of them are really new on their journey, they're very early into their journey, and some are in that middle kind of point as well. So just being able to share my experience, my knowledge, and my methodology with them is one of my favorite things. My least favorite thing is when they don't listen. I think that's every coach's kind of, it's when they don't listen. It's not like a pet peeve or it makes me really angry. Really, it just opens up the door for conversation, because oftentimes if people are not listening, it's likely they don't understand what's been said, or the dialogue needs to shift a bit more so that it better suits their learning style. So that's my least favorite part, but one that I'm always open to talking about, because I think conversations honestly change so much. Next question is, what do you do when you have a mental block in lifting? So I've had several moments, especially away from the sport, where I've had a mental block where it's really hard to push through, and even mid lifts and mid training. I think for me, if a mental block happens in training, dependent on the percentage and the weight that we're at, will determine whether I move on to a different exercise or whether I reattempt. So for example, sometimes a mental block might be, okay, I don't normally do this weight in training, but it's now on the bar, so let's do this. That for me is a little bit more safer, because it's like I just have to continue the pattern that I was doing with all the other reps and sets. But if it's a case where I've completely psyched myself out and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm really anxiety filled, I will generally switch exercise. Because what I found in my experience is that if I try to approach weights when I'm heavily anxious, or when I'm in a high period of self-doubt, my risk of injury or risk of performing incorrectly increases. So that's just not a risk for me. I'd rather come away from the session and really understand, okay, why is it that you had a mental block at this weight? Okay, it's because you're not really lifting at this weight often. So we need to increase the frequency by finding sets and reps that will allow me to lift heavier. So those are my kind of logical processes that I go through to get back into training and really be able to just get past the mental hurdles. I think the third point on that is I speak to people. So I'm quite blessed that I get to train with people. So on the opportunities that I do, when I do feel a mental block or resistance, I vocalize that, because I find that when someone else is able to explain what they've seen or observed, it provides the new insight as well. So those are the several key things I consider with a mental block as well. Next one is, what are your favorite ways to unwind, like hobbies? So my favorite way to unwind is really to just chill. When I'm not at the gym, I'm not thinking about the gym. I'm at that stage now where this is not immersed as my life. I have to switch on and off. So when I was younger, when I was training, I'd come home and I'd watch YouTube videos. I'd watch this methodology, I'd watch this. And I think as now my responsibilities change, it means that I definitely need to switch in and out of things. Hobbies for me is really just making sure that I'm invested in my friendships and relationships. So being social, taking opportunities to go out, to hang out, to eat, of course, and just to have a good time. Especially at the age that I'm at, I think it's really important to make those investments and really just be on that adventure of just experiencing life and not letting life do you. So that is my main way of keeping it separate. And I think as I've got into my 20s, I'm a lot more intentional and deliberate about not making this my identity, because I've said this before, this is something I do, this is not who I am. What does weightlifting bring to your life now versus as a kid? It gives me an outlet. So weightlifting for me at the age of 27 is a bit similar to how people go to the gym recreationally, and how people participate in different sports in their free time. I think for me, I'm just quite fortunate that in doing so, I'm still able to maintain kind of an elite performance level. So for me, it's being able to do life, go to work, hang out with my mates, study, all of the good things, and then have something where I can go to and switch off from everything else. And I think that's where I'm quite interchangeable. So if I'm going to the gym, I'm focused on the gym. If I'm at home working, I'm at home working. If I'm at uni, I'm at uni. So it's about really having that place and outlet where, one, I can still keep fit and healthy in weightlifting. It's an activity, I'm doing it regularly, I'm performing. I still get the ability to kind of build up my mental resilience, push myself, go for PBs, and just train really hard and compete. Versus when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I really did struggle with the fact that it was my identity. So my life was built around weightlifting, whereas now weightlifting fits into my life and it's not my life. So that is the major difference as a kid and as an adult. Next one is, what is my favorite movement? This changes a lot, right? So I thought that my favorite movement was snatch. But when I go to competitions, the snatch don't be snatching like the snatch needs to snatch. So I think it's clean and jerk, and I do like clean and jerks because I'm able to take bigger jumps. That's where I'm able to kind of brute strength things. It's a technical movement, yes, but when push comes to shoving, it really be shoving. Clean and jerk is where you can really like play the games. So clean and jerk is my favorite. My least favorite movement, I think right now, it's definitely front squats. Oh my gosh, I don't even do those often. It's definitely front squats. Front squats just really, it really screams to me how bad I do them. So like when I do them and I watch them, I'm just like, ugh, this position is not nice. It's kind of yucky and not really my strongest kind of movement. I'm able to push myself if I do them, but right now, I do them intermittently just because of my elbow. So I think I had golfer's elbow, which means that as soon as it goes into this position here, it just really pulls. But front squats is my least favorite movement. I'd rather do anything else, to be honest. The next question is, if not weightlifting, what sport would you go into? If I wasn't a weightlifter, I'd be a footballer. Football was my first sport. I played football since I was a kid. It was always something I was involved in. I played for Leighton Orient as an under 15 and under 16. And my dream as a kid was to be a footballer. It just so happened that the opportunities for women's football back then wasn't really existent. So Leighton Orient at the time, I think the women's team had to have like a temporary close on it just because of like, I believe what we were told was like funding issues, but I don't know, obviously you tell, that's what we were told at the time. So, and that for me is what pushed me into weightlifting, because I started trying to do every single other sport, trying to find where do I fit in, what can I do, and that's how I found weightlifting. But if I didn't find weightlifting, I'd be playing football. And just seeing how women's football has evolved right now is absolutely amazing. So hopefully there's more girls and women that are in football that now see that this is actually a career for them. Because when I dreamt of being a footballer, it wasn't really a viable career, and it was football versus women's football. It was just all kinds of, yeah, it was a bit discouraging. But if I had to pick a sport that I would go into, football. I'd actually like to still play that recreation. It's just hard finding a club locally. What got you into weightlifting? So I've got a whole video on that. If you click here, I'm gonna try and put it here. If you click here, that tells you the story and how I got into weightlifting. But a little synopsis: PE GCSE in secondary school is how I got into it. So this question says, how are you juggling your 9 to 5 with your training and lifestyle? I create systems and I kind of time block out what I'm doing. So nothing is really a surprise to me. I think the most spontaneous thing might be, like, I'm going out to eat with a friend or something like that, but nothing is a surprise. I have clear hours of when I'm working, I have clear hours of when I'm training, and I have clear hours of when I'm committed to studying and all the other things I've got going on in my life. So I'm going to do a video on this actually about striking the balance, so I'm able to kind of divide everything up and commit to it in the way that it needs to be done and in the priority which it needs to be done. So weightlifting for me is not a priority based on the fact that I also have to work to sustain myself, to then pay for my bills and my rent and all of those sorts of things, and I don't get paid to weightlift. So right now my priority is to work. Then my secondary priority is my studies, because that's where my long-term career is, and then weightlifting fits into those gaps, and that's how I balance everything. So that is how I strike the balance with everything that I have going on at the moment. I wear many hats, but it will always be the case of I want to live life and not let life just do me, or just be like a laid-back participant. I want to be quite present, so that means right now prioritizing work, prioritizing studying. And I think the beauty with something like weightlifting is that I can literally approach this like someone who goes to the gym, because it's 2 to 3 hours of my evening, or 2 to 3 hours of my morning, or 1.5 hours depending on the session. Like, they're not big chunks. I'm not training 9 days a week, and I'm not like, I don't have a vigorous schedule. I have quite a realistic schedule for my life. And that's one thing I impart onto my athletes, is that when I take on an athlete, I want the athlete to be honest with me about their commitment. So again, people want to make progress, and yes, you make progress with more time invested. So like, the more often you train, more frequently you train, if that's something your body can cope with, obviously you're going to make improvements. But if you are trying to do 6 days a week, but you work 5 days a week, 9 to 5, then you also have a family, and you have kids, and you have responsibilities, and you have this and that, it's not realistic to train 6 times a week. So now you have to actually fit weightlifting in to life appropriately. So that's one of the things that I really do with all of my athletes. It's like, yeah, the fact that you want to train 6 times a week sounds really cool, but what do you do in your free time? Because if you got 6 days a week or 6 sessions a week, we can do that. But if you don't, let's find a realistic way to still allow you to achieve your goals. And that's what I've established for myself in this like period of adulthood. The next question is, what is one lesson that weightlifting has taught you? I think for me, weightlifting has shown me who I am. And it kind of sounds like a really kind of simple answer, but it showed me who I am in success. It showed me who I am in defeat. It showed me who I am in setbacks. And I think those are the sorts of things that we do get an understanding of it from like real life experiences and life in general. But I think weightlifting really, it was quite intense the way it showed me. So when those sorts of emotions and roller coasters begin to happen, you have to learn how to be resilient and bounce back. And that's one of the things that, yes, it took me a little bit of time, especially as you're younger and you're going through the motions. But for me now, it has really, really taught me who I am and what my character is, because that is what's present in competitions, that's what's present in training. And the interesting part of weightlifting is that weightlifting and the skills and the disciplines that I learn are the underpinnings that have allowed me to have success in different areas. So being able to see myself in those different elements as a weightlifter carried over to the workplace. It carried it over to my studies. It carried over everywhere, which was just like, wow, like, this is how you deal with this. So if there's a setback here, this is how you deal with it. And if there's victory here, this is how you deal with it. Or if you know that you need to put in a bit more work, this is how you deal with it. And I think it's just revealing of your character. It's not something that people often pay attention to, because it's a bit of a, you need to be quite reflective to recognize that your character is being shown in these moments. But for me, I love to really like analyze things and sit down and reflect. And that for me was like, I could look at my career and literally take you through how my character was like either tested or shown, or just different things like that. So I think it just really, really showed me who I was. But weightlifting is not who I am. So yeah, it has a beautiful place in my life, of really just allowing me to make sure those skills, those talents, those characteristics are transferable to other contexts in my life as well. If I could tell my younger self some advice when you started weightlifting, what would you say? when I was young, I had great advice. I had an amazing coach. And our motto was don't get involved in the politics. And I think for me, we didn't get involved in the politics, didn't need to. That was the cardinal rule of us training. And I think what I would tell younger athletes now is don't get involved in the politics. I think look at what is within your control and look at the black and whites of situations. So for example, if you know that your goal is to compete internationally, you have to only focus on everything that is within your control. And the only time you begin to kind of consider external things is when you need to look at the qualification system, when you need to communicate with a performance manager. But I think it's really, really important to not try to set unrealistic kind of relationships and forceful situations. I think just stay grounded in what you can do. And for me, in doing so, I started at 15, first international at 17. We wasn't focused on any of the fancy glitter and balloons kind of thing. It was, okay, cool. I'm progressing really quickly. The website said this is how we need to qualify for European youth. Okay, let's go to the competition and do the European youth qualifier and see where we go from there. And again, when you qualify for things, it doesn't mean you're getting selected. So that was another conversation we had, but it was just staying really grounded in all the things that I could control and all the things that I could do. I think another piece of advice I would give to younger lifters is have fun. I think for me, with things progressing so quickly, I literally went from being a kid that was still adamant that they were going to be a footballer to, okay, first year of college, no, last year of college, I'm trying to qualify for the Commonwealth Games. And that's literally in the space of like 2 to 3 years. So yeah, 2011 to 2014, that's 3 years. And in that period, I've kind of transitioned through youth and transitioning through a junior. And at one point, it stopped being fun. It became my life, it became my career, it became everything. And I think for me, at even that 15 to 20 years old mark, I really wish that the fun stayed, that it didn't become my job. And it wasn't because I'm on funding that I have to do this. It would have been nice to still enjoy it. And I think that would have actually changed a bit of the trajectory of my career, because once it starts being fun, it was really, really hard to just get up and go, get up and train, get up and be excited about this. So yeah, I would say make sure it stays fun. So this final question is like a twofold question. So it's about what are my next steps in my career, but also am I still focused on the goal of going to the Olympics? So for those of you that know, the qualification system for the Olympics is quite vigorous, alongside with the reductions of the weight classes as well. So there was a few things that I had to think about, especially over the last couple of years, with just difficulty exploring what weight class I'm better suited to, and the difficulties in itself of just reducing body weight. And the next viable weight class would have been 81 kilograms. I'm currently not 81. So the plan was to get into the qualification comps and gradually get into the last two competitions at 81. But there were some really hard questions we had to ask along the way, which was, do we know if my body's capable of doing that? We don't know. I haven't been around. 81 is the weight that I started weightlifting at 15 years old. So I started around 81 kilos and I would cut down into 75, especially as I became leaner doing the sport. So that was one thing to consider. We didn't know. Two, the qualifications at Plus are big qualifications. So again, qualifying for Cuba was a massive deal for me, because yes, I did have to put a PB performance to get that together. But then to qualify for the Worlds was another PB performance that I needed to do at Cuba. And I didn't get that at Cuba. I think Cuba really showed me that, one, although I'm able to still maintain kind of elite level, I need an elite level of training. And right now, that's not something I'm able to commit to, just on the basis that I work, I study, I do so many other things, that weightlifting is actually a very small fraction of my life. So yes, I tried my best to really just try and qualify and see how far I can get. And as soon as the World Championships in September starts, I will officially no longer be eligible for the Olympics, because that is one of the mandatory competitions that you have to do. So does that mean I'm going to quit and retire? Absolutely not. It just means that plan A still is plan A, which is continue out the final years of your career, accumulating more international medals, improving your performance. There's 2 performance goals that I have that I'm just like, if I complete those, I am complete, and just maximizing on the potential that I have and actually achieving it. That's my goal, and doing that whilst I have fun. So the next couple of years are going to be geared towards qualifying for more internationals, trying to acquire more medals, just having fun doing so like I did when I was younger, and that's what the picture looks like for me now at the moment. Being no longer eligible for the Olympics is a little bit sad, just a tad, but again, Olympians are Olympians for a reason, and they're able to dedicate and commit such a big amount of their life to that goal. And in this context and in this season of my, like, just my career in general, I haven't been able to do that. And that's something that I've had to understand, recognize. And yes, you have the feelings of, wow, okay, I might not ever go to an Olympics, but at the end of the day, I've still, if I was to retire today, I would count my career as a beautiful, wonderful and successful career. It's had its ups and downs, but it's definitely a career that has made a mark. It has changed my life and something that I'm really grateful for, but I just have to recognize that I don't have the capacity, and that was reflected in my performance in Cuba, where I literally was sat in the warm-up room and I was looking around. I said, I want to get to that point where I can dedicate my life to this, but that season has definitely passed. Yeah, I've got other goals, excited for them, and I think that for me, I'm so intentional about the next couple of years of my career, because I can't do this forever. As much as this is fun, I'm not going to be a competitive weightlifter forever. I've got other adventures and things that I want to experience in this life, and I think that almost dedicating almost half my life to this has been such a big, significant commitment, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But I got a handful of goals left, and once those are done, I am finished. So yeah, I'm excited to see the qualification and how the qualification goes for all the other athletes, and I'm excited to see the performances at Paris next year. But as for me, my focus is now elsewhere. And I believe that also opens doors for me to be able to focus on my career, on my PhD, and just all the other things that I'm juggling in my life at the moment. So a little bit bittersweet, but I'm a person of faith, so I believe what is for me is for me, and what is not for me is not for me, and if it's not for me, it's for my good. So yeah, that is where I am at the moment. But I just want to thank you for sticking through this video and listening to the questions that my athletes had to ask me. If you are looking for coaching and you're wondering what's she talking about with all these athletes, all the details will be in the description box as well. So I only have a few more spaces for athletes at the moment, again, for balance and to make sure that I'm giving quality, value and impact to every single person that I coach. But thank you to all my wonderful athletes that sent me the questions. I love you guys, as you know. If you've watched this whole video and you still haven't subscribed, I just want you to reflect. Why is that? Why haven't you subscribed? You watched the whole video. I think you should subscribe. And then on top of that, I think you should like the video. But then I also think you should share it with other people. Because if you liked it, why don't you want to share it with other people? Do you get what I'm saying? But stay tuned for more videos. I'm going to show you some more things behind the scenes of weightlifting. And as my PhD starts to ramp up, we'll get talking on that, because I'm absolutely passionate about the area that I'm studying. And that gives a little bit more context to all that I do away from the sport as well. So like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next video. Love you all and have a blessed week, day, month. Just be blessed. Bye.